That's Tarun Krishna Prabhu from London. It's a very beautiful sunny day in London. It's 1 p.m. In London. And I suggest you give this Prabhu your utmost attention, because he will share with you something that can really add value to your life and to your family. Tarun Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Fure. Hare Krishna.
Would you like to share something about yourself with our public?
Sure. My name is Tarun Krishnadas. I'm from London. I joined ISKCON in 2000 when I was 20 years old, and I lived in the Soho Temple for around 8 years. And then my brahmachari career came to an end. I went into white, moved out of the temple. And then soon after that, I moved to Hungary to live in Uvrajadam, my spiritual master's farm, Srila Shiv Swami's farm in Hungary. And I lived there for 10 years, doing various services on the farm. And last year, we moved back to the UK. And now I'm working for ISKCON London, developing a farm project that they want to have. And we started Project Grow about 2 months ago when the coronavirus started to hit, because we wanted to help devotees engage them in agricultural growing things now at a time where other activities weren't possible. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. So you may have noticed he lived for years in the Soho Street Temple, Radha Londonishwar Temple. And ISKCON-wise, you cannot get more frontline than that. Plus, he has also 10 years experience in living in the Hungarian farm. So he's not talking just theory, but he has a lot of practice under his belt. Tarun Krishna Prabhu, what is this Project Grow?
Project Grow is about inspiring and engaging devotees to grow their own food now. It's very simple. Many devotees don't have any experience in growing their own food, but you can start now. All you need is some kind of little container, some compost and a seed, and you can start growing your own food. And within a month, or with even some plants, you can start eating them within 3 weeks, obviously offering them first. So our meditation was, we were working on a farm project for ISKCON London, but then coronavirus hit. So fundraising is difficult. You can't really go anywhere. You can't meet people. Our activities were cut, and our temple was closed. The restaurant was closed. So I was concerned for the temple. What can we do for the temple now? What can we give to the temple? Because they're suffering financially and in different ways. And Krishna gave this idea of Project Grow, which is using devotees who are at home. They can start growing food in whatever facilities they have, and then donating a portion of that to the temple. And devotees were very inspired to do that. We started a WhatsApp group. Devotees were very enlivened. It runs from about 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, this WhatsApp group continuously, sharing ideas, sharing experience, and getting a taste of growing your own food, which is a wonderful thing from so many different perspectives, and not something that's only done by farmers, or if you have land, or even if you have a garden. Like I'm sitting here now in my son's room, there's 4 pots of radish here. There's about 7 pots of spinach on the windowsill. There's a lettuce growing here. What to speak of in the living room? Half of the living room is vegetables, and we also have an allotment. And it's very simple to start. Anybody can start. So try it, get a taste, and then it will expand from there. It's a very wonderful experience.
So you're saying that right now you have different pots of presumably different sides with different type of subsidies.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that?
That's radish.
Radish, okay.
Yeah.
So how much food, how many kilos or grams of sabji you actually produce?
Well, this is the first season that we've done this. It's the first time we've ever done this project, and it's very early in the season. It's not even June yet. So if anybody's grown food before, then there's only a few things that you can harvest now. Like yesterday, I pulled out a lettuce from our allotment. Radishes are ready. Spinach, my wife is picking the leaves from the spinach and offering it every day. So it's very early in the season. We couldn't really say how much now because it's in the middle of the season. What we're offering a lot of now to the temple is flowers. There's a lot of flowers now in spring, although it has its logistical challenges because flowers that grow naturally are very sensitive. Flowers that are bought generally for the deities, they're more hardy and they've been refrigerated or maybe dealt with chemically in different ways. So it's a project for us. We're communicating with the temple how it works, bringing things in, the pujaris looking after them, offering them, valuing them. So there's different aspects to the project, but it's a very wonderful feeling to grow your own food for Krishna and to give that to him. And it means a lot more that the devotion is not just there in the cooking or the offering, but it's there in growing it from seed. And that's a very amazing experience that I recommend for everybody.
So you feel a real connection because you are at home, you're growing flowers, you're growing different vegetables, and then you know that this will be offered to Shri Radha Londonishwar.
Yeah, that's right. And we have this nice group where we have the photos from the deities. And, we may not be pujaris, devotees may not be initiated, but they can grow something in their garden. And then the next day, possibly, they can see pictures of their flowers decorating Radharani's hair, decorating Krishna's hair. We had some beautiful pictures of lilac that one devotee had in his garden. And the next day it was just covering the deity's hair. Radharani had a little basket, all the flowers were coming out of the basket. And that's an amazing service that you can perform. You can perform valuable pujari service just by growing something in your own garden. I don't think that devotee even grew that. It was just already there in his garden. He just cut it off, drove it in, dropped it off. And that's a wonderful service you can perform.
How many families are you already involving, engaging, and what are the plans for the future?
Well, we have about 10 families at the moment who are taking it seriously. A lot of them haven't done gardening before, so they're learning the ropes or they're developing on their experience. We have amazing things happening, like devotees who they don't have soil. They just have like a patio, just like concrete, but they've been buying raised beds and they've been buying blueberry trees and filling their patio with that. So it's a learning experience. I would say Project Grow will probably take about 5 years to become established and to produce a substantial amount of things for Shri Radha Londonishwar to get used to the transport and things like that. But as devotees value it and have experience of it, we can expand. Devotees I know are planning that when they move to the next place, then they want to get a big garden, they can grow more things. Having an allotment is also very, very valuable. I have an allotment which is 1/16 of an acre, which is quite a bit of land, and it's very, very cheap.
Just to clarify, can you define for us allotment?
Yeah, okay. So in the UK, and I think in many other countries, then if you speak to the local council, they have plots of land which are used just for growing vegetables or fruits. And this is done in a community of people. And they rent these out for a very small amount of money. Like the one that I have costs £35 a year. And we're paying £1,000 a month rent, but this costs £35 a year rent for this big piece of land. And then on that you can grow, a large amount of food. And for those who don't have much experience growing things, you don't actually need a lot of land to produce a lot of produce.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have various plans to expand. it will take experience. We're making different mistakes and growing on things, especially in communication with the temple, being able to take things in. But yeah, I mean, people are inspired by it. The BBC in the UK, they did an interview with me a couple of weeks ago because they were also inspired by it. Because in this coronavirus situation, people are scared. You know, where is their food coming from? What is the supply chain? Here in the UK, we would go to the supermarket and there wouldn't be everything that you needed there. Sometimes it wasn't pasta, there wasn't toilet paper was the whole thing. There was no toilet paper, tomato sauce, rice. People went to the supermarket and they didn't have these basic supplies. So at the moment, garden centers are inundated, and seed companies, it's very difficult to buy seeds at the moment because everybody is buying seeds and starting to grow things in their gardens. So it's a very important issue that Prabhupada addressed, food security. And if you just, start with growing something and get some experience, then it can gradually develop. But I would say, yeah, go ahead.
So it's a question of building confidence and building rapport with the medium, and getting trust that actually anyone can grow something in any space, inside, outside, and then offer it to Krishna and help the family in nourishment.
Yeah, it's very, very important. The quality of food that we eat. Srila Prabhupada talks about milk giving us the necessary brain cells to think about Krishna, but also everything else that we eat, a lot of it is treated with fertilizers, pesticides, and there are so many horror stories of what is the food actually that we're eating. But if you grow it yourself, you can grow it organically. We're chanting every day, all day here in the house. The plants are hearing that. So it's very important what we put into our bodies, and if you're growing your own food or some of it, then you can influence that very directly. But what I also wanted to say was that this is a step. I would say it's like a transitional step, because I think in this time, then ISKCON's farm communities will become more and more important, as devotees are seeing that the world is in a shaky condition around us. They'll take more interest in having land security, having food security, water security. And this is a good stepping stone for devotees who are living in cities or towns with no experience of agriculture, to develop their knowledge of growing, and then in the future to develop more of these rural projects which actually give devotees security, and which Srila Prabhupada emphasized, but also said that he had not, completed that aspect of his mission. And I personally think that now is the time for us to really move forward with that, because if we don't, we'll just starve along with everybody else, unless we actually apply Prabhupada's instructions to get land and to grow our own food.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that in one sense, the goal for ISKCON and devotees in general, ideally, is to become self-sufficient, but not everybody maybe is able, both socially or psychologically, to just move into a farm and start living as a full-time farmer. So this offers a stepping stone, an experience, a valuable transition, at least to build that mentality that we can grow our own food, we can actually offer to Krishna purer ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. But I think also devotees are seeing that such an insecure situation, the world, that I think that's why devotees are interested in it now, and why non-devotees are also interested in it.
There's a sense of urgency, a real need.
Yeah, there's a real sense of urgency. And it's also just better. There's quotes that I was hearing from Prabhupada, that he was saying that in the cities in the future, people will leave the cities to go to the countryside just because it's nicer. So when you start to grow something, it's such an amazing experience that just helps you in your Krishna consciousness too. You have a seed, bijam mam sarva bhutanam. Krishna says he's the seed of all existence. You have this tiny little seed, and you put it in the soil, you water it, and then in 3 or 4 weeks, it's unrecognizable that there's something's developed so quickly. It's so beautiful. These plants, they give so much energy and prana. And then these little miracles happen, that they start flowering. All of them have different flowers. From the flowers come the fruits or the vegetables, and then you see it growing and developing. In fact, when you're growing things, it's a shame in the end to kill it and to offer it, because you think such a beautiful little thing. You understand that it's a living entity, but then the best thing that you can do with these living entities is to engage them in Krishna service. So I had a struggle to cut my fenugreek microgreens that I had growing on the windowsill, because they're just so sweet. I didn't want to kill them. But then when you offer them to Krishna, then you realize that's actually the best benefit that you can do for these plants as well.
So it's not just a utilitarian approach, it's a meditation on the mystical nature, the sacred nature of the world, how Krishna arranged in a marvelous way, how you put a seed and it grows and then you can offer in yagya. We have a comment from His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj. We can take that. Nice project. Maybe it's obvious, but my suggestion for long-term preparation is to develop seed banks. Do you have any comment or suggestion on that, or experience on that?
I'm sure Maharaj, Hare Krishna Maharaj, if you're watching, obeisances to you. I'm not the most experienced gardener in the world, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I have all the answers on these matters. In our group, we have advisors, devotees who have a lot of experience in gardening, and they are generally answering all of the questions that devotees have. I'm not the one answering all the different questions. But yeah, as I was mentioning, land security, food security, water security, and seed security is also very important, because in the UK, as far as I've heard, we don't have GMO seeds. They're not legal. But we do have different types of seeds, like F1 seeds, that if you have a plant and you grow a plant from those seeds, then when it goes to seed, that plant, when it becomes mature and it produces seeds, you can't sow those seeds, so new plants will grow. So yeah, it is very important for the security of our food to have seed banks. And I've heard that it's important to have diverse types of whatever plant you have, say radishes or carrots or potatoes, to maintain the security of that plant. So yeah, it is very important to develop seed banks. They can be maintained. The heritage seeds can also be maintained, because they adjust different types and species of plants. But yeah, it is a very important part. We need seed banks, but obviously we need a place to grow them as well. Seeds without land and good land facilities is also, useless. So we definitely need seed banks, but we need the land to plant them in also. So thank you, Maharaj, for the comment.
So, Prabhu, do you have, you and your team, do you have some resources that you can share with our public? Maybe a link, a website, or some maybe preliminary or developed handbook? What can you give to devotees right now as a reference and as a resource?
Well, we didn't really discuss this beforehand. I could have brought resources here. I don't have any to give right now. What I could do is give my telephone number and my email address, and then there are so many resources out there. As you know, we're living in the internet age right now. So anything that you want to learn to do is all out there on YouTube. There's so much information, from growing your own vegetables to particular plant, how to deal with it, when to trim it, what fertilizers it needs, different types of natural fertilizers, what pots are best, what you can grow indoors, what you can have in hanging baskets. I've even seen videos of growing plants. These were lettuces in a place where there was no soil. It was a paved street, and a brick wall. And what they did is they sowed seeds in between the bricks and in between the stones, and lettuces grew out, and they were beautiful, beautiful lettuces. So I would send I can put my oh no, I can't put it here publicly, but
well, you can put it in the private chat,
okay.
and I can put it publicly.
Because what we have is this WhatsApp group, which is a real haven of ideas and different things. And what I would be happy to do is to expand that WhatsApp group. We could have it not just for the devotees in London. Actually, we have more than one group already, because we have an offshoot from that group, which is run by Sukanti Radha Mataji. And that's for doctors and nurses who are living around London, and they're non-devotees, but they're also doing exactly the same thing. So it would be nice to expand the project, to develop it. We could start other groups. If devotees are interested and they want to start developing this, we could do it in different countries as well, because it's all online, and give devotees advice and guidance on how to go forward. I'll also give my email address.
Okay, so this is for everyone watching now or later. You can join the WhatsApp group at this phone number. This is a UK phone number?
Yeah, so the code is 0044.
Yeah, so let me add that. Do you need this 0 in front, or?
I think you take that off. I think it would be 004475.
Okay, here it is. So you can join the WhatsApp group, +44 UK 7523283429. And now Taron Krishna Prabhu will also share his email.
Yep, I sent it to you already.
Yeah, here it is. And again, if you have questions to Taron Krishna Prabhu, put them in the comments, and we will share with him right now. Okay.
There's one more thing I could say, Prabhu, about if while we're waiting.
Yes, please.
That I think, as I was mentioning, that you get to see the development of these plants and flowers when you're growing them, but it also helps us to become Krishna conscious, because when you're growing things, then you're dependent on nature. You're dependent on the sun. You're dependent upon the rain, and you're dependent upon Krishna. And Prabhupada says that the rain comes when we perform sacrifice. So if there's no rain, nothing will grow. If there's no sun, then nothing will grow. And it really helps you to develop that relationship with nature. And also when you're doing it, it's a real form of therapy. Especially with these lockdowns these days, everybody's inside. My spiritual master, Srila Shiv Ram Swami, says that Krishna spends all of his time outside, pretty much. All of his pastimes are outside, with the cows, the rasa dance at the night time. He just comes home to take prasadam, to eat in the evening, and then to sleep a very, very little bit. But other than that, he's outside. So being outside is a real therapy. And doing some hard work also outside is a real therapy. I remember when I was in the garden department in New Vajradam, all of his time outside, pretty much. All of his pastimes are outside. So I was in the garden department for a year and a half in Hungary, and I was the healthiest I'd ever been. I was in the sun all day, breathing fresh air all day, doing some hard work, getting stronger, and no stress. When you touch the earth, when you're in contact with the earth, that's also very therapeutic. If you can also not wear shoes, which I try to avoid when I'm outside at the allotment, then that's also very beneficial. And it's the best lifestyle. And that's why Krishna lives that lifestyle. So very therapeutic and beneficial.
Thank you. I have this question. Tell us about the learning curve. You mentioned mistakes were made. Can you give some examples so that others perhaps can avoid them? What kind of mistakes were made in this project or this process?
Well, lots. It's happening all the time. If you grow something, then you will experience that these plants are individuals, that they're little souls, and you have a very close relationship with them. So, I mean, there's little things like if they get too much sun or too little sun, or they don't get enough water, or the water's not good. It really makes you very, very conscious when you're growing things. Like here, we're using tap water to water the plants, but this tap water is not pure. This tap water has chlorine in it. So the best thing to do is to take the tap water and keep it in a bottle so the chlorine evaporates from the water, and then when it's evaporated, to give it to your plants. And then better than that is to also give them fertilizer, but not fertilizer in terms of chemicals. Like what I do with my plants is I give them banana juice or seaweed juice at the moment, because the banana has a lot of what is it, potassium, I think, which is very good for the plant. So you just have a bottle of water, put some banana skins in it, leave it for a few hours, the chlorine will evaporate, and then you feed your plants with that. So it's about developing a relationship with the plants. It makes you very, very conscious of how they're developing. It's a relationship, just like a personal relationship with somebody else, your wife or your friends, that you have to serve the plants to serve Krishna. So that's one instance, but probably the main one for me in terms of tricky situation is the relationship between the producer and the consumer. So we're like the producers, we're growing the produce wherever that may be, in our allotment, garden, windowsill. We're getting it into the temple in London, and then how they can use it. Like I was, Bhava Bhakti Mataji from ISKCON London, she was saying that the elderflower that I sent in the day before yesterday had black bugs all over it. And when they put that in the fridge in the temple, then those bugs can go over and go on other things. So it's that, particularly that part is tricky. The relationship between us who are growing things and the temple who is going to use those things. And it's a constant communication at the moment that what do they need? What do they want? Are they valuing what we're sending? What condition is it arriving in? How can we preserve it that it gets there? So it's a whole balancing act that needs to be developed and worked on.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah.
It probably never ends because there are so many things, so many different plants, so many different climates, so many different conditions.
Yeah.
We have a comment from the Netherlands. It's not really a question, but somebody already decided to join your WhatsApp group. This is Krishna Priya Devidasi, a very frequent viewer, I must say, very active with her questions and comments. She says, Hare Krishna, I live in a flat in Amsterdam. Just now, the shops are filled with vegetables and fruits, so the need to grow myself is not so pressing. But I would like to practice growing anyway for the future that is so unsure. I will join the app.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, please join us. I heard one story from Shutakirti Prabhu that one time he was in Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada and living at the Radha Damodar temple. Shutakirti Prabhu went outside somewhere and he came back, and when he came back, Srila Prabhupada was washing the floor in his room. And Shutakirti Prabhu said, Prabhupada, what are you doing? Why are you washing the floor? He was on all his hands and his knees washing the floor. So Prabhupada, what are you doing? That's what I'm here for, to serve you. And Srila Prabhupada said, you should always try to remain as independent as possible. So yeah, maybe at the moment the shops are filled with vegetables and fruits, but the shops can close anytime. And in the way that we live, especially if we're living, say, in a flat in Amsterdam, or I'm living near London, next to Bhaktivedanta Manor, everything that we need is dependent upon someone else. They can turn the water off here anytime they like. They can turn the electricity off. The internet can be turned off. The shops can close, and then what do? Then we're totally dependent. So it's good. An independently, thoughtfully minded person, as Prabhupada said, Brahmanas should be. They think about these things, that why should I be dependent? Why should I be a victim to a society that's totally out of my control? And if we develop our relationship with growing and with the land, then actually as soon as one has land, then one becomes independent. And as soon as one's land is taken away, then you become dependent. Because all of these things that we need, you can actually get them quite simply. If you have land, then you can generally find water nearby, or you can bore a hole. Then you can grow your food on the land. Prabhupada said that all you need is 1 acre and a cow, and you can provide everything that you need. And then you can build simple dwellings as well. So that relationship with the land is so important. And if we don't have that, then we have to understand that we're in a very vulnerable situation. And in the time that we're living, especially with this coronavirus, I think the penny is dropping with a lot of devotees that, what is going to happen if next time I go to the supermarket and that there's not just no pasta or no tomatoes, but there's no vegetables or there's no fruit, or so yeah, we have to think about these things.
Thank you. So we have a question from Trishakti Devi. She asks, are you able to get composted cow manure for fertilizer living in the city?
I assume she's talking about her situation. It's a challenge to get everything that you need. If you're growing things at home, then you can generally just use compost that you can buy pretty much anywhere in any supermarket. It's low cost. You can get compost and grow things in that. But another important part of growing things is growing your own compost and developing your own compost. And if you do that, then there's different ingredients that you need. And it's also a very, very interesting part of life. It is composting. Like I was saying, in the city, then we're quite divorced from nature. But if you start composting, that immediately helps you develop a relationship with nature, that, banana peels or any kind of peel or natural organic waste that we don't need, peel from different vegetables or dust from around the house or these kind of things, food waste. If you keep that and you combine it with different elements, then that becomes soil. That becomes compost that you can grow things in. And as Sri Shakti was mentioning, that cow dung is important for that. And what I feel from the comment is also, sometimes we want to have our cake and eat it. It's like people may want to live in the city or close to the city because there's different things that are attractive. But at the same time, we want security. We want to live a sattvic lifestyle. So the closer that you live to the city, the harder it will be to get things like that, cow manure or horse manure, which is also good for compost, or any manure, animal manure is good for compost, although the best is cow manure. So the closer that you live to the city, the harder it will be to come by these things. The further away you live in the countryside, the more farms there will be, the more cows there will be, the more farmers there will be, and it will be easier and easier to get a hold of these ingredients.
So, Prabhu, do you have a long-term personal plan to move in the countryside? Right now you are in the city, right? Downtown London. So what are your personal plans for the future?
Well, we're not really in the city now. We're living in Radlett, which is...
okay.
It's in Hertfordshire. It's not in London, but it's close to London. But yeah, we're moving soon to the countryside. Actually, just today I was organizing our next house that we're moving to, which is in Ashford in Kent. And we're developing a farm project there. And different devotees came down and visited that project yesterday. And there's a lot of enthusiastic devotees who want to take part in that. Because, as I said, we were living in New Vajradam in Hungary. And for different reasons, we moved away, mainly within our family, different concerns, different desires, different needs. But we want to create that same atmosphere, that same situation here, where our family is more secure and more balanced and more happy. So probably at the end of next month, then we'll be moving down to this place in the countryside, and we're looking to get land down there.
And then you can grow much more.
Much more.
So when you were saying you are in Radlett, which is very close to the Bhaktivedanta Manor, so when you were saying offering your produce to the deities, are they Shishirada Londonishwar, as I mentioned before, or is actually Shishirada Gokulananda in the manor?
It's Sri Shirada Londonishwar, because I'm working for the temple in London, and I'm a Soho boy. And living here, we were going to Bhaktivedanta Manor every day until the temple closed because of the COVID-19. But we're supplying the temple in London. But also devotees are hearing a lot about the project. They're getting inspired, and some of them, because I'm living close to the manor, their hearts are with Radha Gokulananda, so they want to start supplying things to them. And I think that it's a project that would be useful around the world for ISKCON, because what you're basically doing is creating value from nowhere. Not from nowhere, but we have space, we have light, we have water, and if devotees start to grow things, and it doesn't have to be with no facility. I mean, you can do it with very, very little facility, like in this room. But a lot of devotees have a garden. With a little bit of research, they can get an allotment for a very cheap price. And then we can start giving so much to the temple. And I think that would be a valuable thing to do in different centers around the world. It's a new service that devotees can offer to the temple. And it really increases the quality of the offerings. We're not sure exactly what it is we're eating when we buy things in the shop. Even if it's organic, then there's different pesticides that they're still legally allowed to use, I've heard. At least in America, I'd have to check on the situation in the UK. But the quality of the food that we're offering to the deities really increases if it's grown by devotees, if it's done organically, if it's done with love and devotion. So it would be nice if this project could develop for Bhaktivedanta Manor and for different temples around the world. I think it could be very beneficial, and as you said, a stepping stone towards devotees getting more experience with growing and on a bigger scale.
And talking about the world at large, we have a comment from Peter Maritzburg in South Africa. We have Haridas Prabhu saying, this experience should be documented as there is a lot of science and business information learned. We need to develop a supply chain for temples. So this is a comment of encouragement, emphasizing the importance of this. Thank you, Haridas Prabhu. And it's an encouragement for you and your team to really prepare some resources, maybe some starting kit for devotees who want to do if they may not have experience. And we at the GBC Strategic Planning team, we could use our channels, our Facebook page, YouTube page, WhatsApp group, our web page to broadcast this. We also have an email service. We send daily emails, and this could be a subject of an email, a PDF or a link to very good resources that you find it useful for everybody. So thank you, Haridas Prabhu, for encouraging this. I believe in this, and let's spread this news and this culture as much as possible.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I could say something about that comment, that I agree. We should produce some documentation. We actually did have some in the beginning about how to start from nothing if one has no knowledge of growing. And but I had to adjust it. It was related to this making mistakes thing, that the original name for this project was not Project Grow. It was called Operation Dig. But then we have many members of our group who don't dig, and they don't believe in digging. they believe that the best way to grow things is to put lots of compost on the soil and then to sow into that, or just a very small amount, not really digging, just kind of piercing the land. So we had documentation there, but we adjusted it for this to accommodate devotees who don't believe in digging the land. So we could definitely produce more. And then very interesting point that Hari Das made is business information also, because this is the field of agriculture, which is the field of Vaishyas. And I was just in communication with one Mataji today from India. She phoned me that it's a very good way to develop an economic situation for devotees also. When you have land, then you're dealing with things that are of value. And with our project in the south, now that we're developing, we're trying to start different businesses that devotees can engage in to maintain themselves from the land. Because everybody needs, I mean, this is, we're dealing with grihastas primarily when we're dealing with farm projects. So yeah, it's also an aspect that selling produce, devotees earning money for themselves. And I was communicating with a devotee about this yesterday also, that this project Grow, we can expand it for non-devotees, and we can charge for it also, and then devotees can maintain themselves from developing this, giving advice, giving guidance, and helping people to live a more sattvic lifestyle. So I think that economic business point is something that can develop from it, and it's not something that's bad or something that's taboo, because devotees need to maintain themselves. So yeah, thank you for that comment.
So we are almost at the end of our event, and I want to show something. These are samples of mangoes that come from a project. We have my wife here, Shirada Govinda Dasi.
Hare Krishna.
She's showing these mangoes that we just got this morning. There's a project here in Mayapur called the Gaura Village. And we have a plot of land there. Yes, this is from the project, from the village. And we do plan to start also producing a lot of food, a lot of flowers. So we just wanted to join in.
Wonderful. I wish we could grow mangoes here.
In our little way.
Wonderful. I would exchange my radishes for your mangoes.
We can talk about that, yes.
Yeah, bartering. This is the Vaishya exchanging. I think you'd probably have to get at least 20 radishes for one mango.
Maybe since we are almost at the end, do you have a particular favorite quote from Srila Prabhupada, from his books or his conversation, that particularly inspires you or inspired you for this project that you like to share with us?
Well, what I would say, that what comes to mind now, seeing you just asked me that question spontaneously, is what my spiritual master says. I see him as Srila Prabhupada's representative, that the best lifestyle is the lifestyle that Krishna lives. Krishna is living in the spiritual world where there's no cars, there's no laptops, there's no telephones. He's not living in the city. He's not commuting to work. He's living in harmony with nature. He's living with the cows. And Mother Yashoda has her own little garden where they produce things to feed Krishna. Srimati Radharani is growing trees so that she can pick those flowers and make garlands for Krishna. Krishna is also, he's picking flowers, making garlands, decorating the gopis. It's beautiful natural opulence, Vrindavan, and that's our goal. So if we want to be Krishna conscious, then we have to be in tune with Krishna, and Krishna is showing us what the best lifestyle to live is. And my spiritual master also says, in terms of cows, that if we want to go back to Goloka, Vrindavan, you have to do something for the cows. If we don't do anything for the cows, then how are you going to go back to Goloka? So living a lifestyle that is in tune with Krishna's lifestyle helps us to become Krishna conscious and helps us to be in tune with that place that we ultimately want to achieve. So yeah, as a concluding thought, I would say that this lifestyle, this sattvic rural lifestyle, helps one to become Krishna conscious because it's in tune with Krishna's ultimate abode, Goloka Vrindavan.
Thank you very much with this divine sharing. Thank you very much for the inspiration. Thank you for all that you are doing. I'm sure that many more people will watch this event besides those who were here live. I know you're busy. You have another engagement right now. So we thank you so much, Tarun Krishna Prabhu, and we look forward to this network of home growers to grow itself. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So to our viewers, stay tuned to this initiative of the GBC Strategic Planning Team, the COVID-19 crisis, resources for devotees. We practically have daily live events of information of different kinds that we hope you find very, very useful for you. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. Hare Krishna.